Hello my friends, I'm Buck Weezer and you've tuned to Buck's Small Engine DIY on YouTube. I have in front of me a DeWalt lawnmower featuring the Briggs & Stratton engine, and it doesn't start or run. It's only 2 years old. Let's see if we can sort it out together, shall we? By the way, it really doesn't matter if you've got a DeWalt or some other brand. The point is, this is a Briggs & Stratton engine. It's very, very common, well-known, popular engine. I like to call it the plastic engine because it's got a plastic carburetor under there, as you'll probably see in a little bit. And yeah, I call it the plastic engine. But you see this on a lot of different brands of lawnmowers and pressure washers. So even if you're not working on a DeWalt, this might be of help to you. So here's what I want to do. I've got you zoomed in here on the air cleaner, the air filter box. Right here, you see that? No prime, no choke. That means this has an automatic choke. You don't have to apply the choke, it does it by itself. You don't have to press a primer bulb to prime the engine because you've got the automatic choke. And we also have that no oil changes nonsense, but whatever. That's not our issue today. So let's just open up the cover. Remove the air filter. Now I don't know if it's going to be easy for you to see, but you got to look right inside here into the intake, and you should see the choke plate. And since this engine is stone cold, it hasn't been started, that choke plate should be closed. And I don't know if I can get you to see this on video or not, but I'm going to try. You see that choke plate? It's wide open. It should be closed. And if you try to start this engine with the choke plate wide open when it's supposed to be closed, cold, you'll pull this 100 times before you get it to start. That choke plate, for some reason, is hung up in there. Not sure if you can see it. Hopefully you can. It's stuck open. It needs to close. So the mechanism, the choke mechanism, is what we need to talk about and figure out why it's not closing as it should be when it's cold. So we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to take off this air cleaner, give us more access to the carburetor and the linkages, and we're also going to take off the cover here on the top of the mower. So let's take off the top of this engine cover, just a plastic cover, and I think it's got 1 screw, 2 screws, and then it clips under here. I think this has come off with a Torx bit, a T20, something like that. There's 1, 2. Oh, so the cover comes off easily. I'm saying I don't want to lose these screws if I turn this cover upside down and they fall out. Alright, they don't look like they're going anywhere. Alright, so that's where it clipped in. So 2 screws and it clips here and we're out. Alright, we're going to take off this air cleaner. We got 2 screws here and then 1 up here. This is a 5/16 or 8 millimeter, but these 2 are 9/32. Now why they couldn't make them all the same, I don't really know, but so that guy is loosened. He's the 5/16. He's harder to see. Actually, there's 4 because there's another 5/16 over there. They're harder to see. All right. So those are the 2 5/16. Switch over to the 9/32. They're not hard to take in or out. They're just screwed into plastic. Well, these screw into the metal, but these 2 that hold the thing, the cover, the air cleaner up to the carburetor, just into plastic because it's a plastic carburetor. So they're really not that tight. And when you put it back on, don't tighten them down too much because you're just going into plastic. All right. So now this guy comes off. this breather tube plugs into the back. All right, so you can see now more clearly that the choke plate's wide open. Engine's cold, that should be closed. It's automatic, but for some reason it's not working. So we have some linkages, we got a spring, we got this linkage that goes all the way here under the shroud and over to a little gizmo. Can't see what I'm doing. Let me move you a little bit. So spring here, and this linkage here goes over to under the shroud and over to this this heat activated spring that opens and closes. It's over by the muffler on the engine. It gets hot, it warms, and it opens up that choke plate. And that seems to be in the right position, but this is stuck. I don't know why it's stuck. Okay, and I can force it loose like that. So for some reason, this opened and got stuck up there. See that? It's stuck. And the spring didn't seem to be strong enough to pull it back. See what I'm doing? Give you a closer shot. So this choke plate opens. You know, this heats up and moves out here and pushes it open. Then when it cools down and goes back, this spring is supposed to pull it back like that and close the choke plate. So the choke plate's closed now. But for whatever reason, it's getting stuck right there. So that's why this thing wouldn't start, because the choke wasn't working. But why is it getting stuck like that? There's a notch right here in the metal that this passes through, and I wonder if it's maybe getting stuck in there. Possibly. What if I just tried to bend that a little bit with a pair of pliers? I mean, I can't move it that much because, you know, it holds on parts. Now we can bring this out, but it still gets stuck up there. So I don't think it has anything to do with this metal bracket. Yep, and he doesn't want to click back easily enough. Right there. Doing my flashlight. You know, I just push this down and it's working better. You see it's coming up and down? When it's up, no. All right, now I can't get it to stick in the open position. The question is, why did it get stuck in the open position? Will that happen again? Is there anything we can do to make sure it doesn't happen again? Okay, so at this point, there's nothing I can do to get it to stick open like that, like it was. I pushed down on this little thing. Now it's working just fine. And it will not stick open at all for me, no matter what I try. Ah, there it is. And then it closed. I got some play up and down, which I don't really like. All right, welcome back. I don't know where we left off because the camera battery quit on us, so I don't know whatever I was saying. Let's just review real quick. We discovered that the choke plate was stuck open, and after playing with the mechanism, it seems totally functional now and is closing like it should since the engine's cold. Once the engine warms up, it'll be held open by this spring, heat spring back here. But now that it's cold, the choke plate is closing as it's supposed to. This spring pulls it closed. And right now, there's nothing I can do to get it to stick open like it was. So, we didn't really do anything, but I think what I want to do is put it all back together. We'll see if it starts and runs. It probably will. We'll let it heat up, and we'll turn it off, and we'll wait overnight, let it cool down again, and this plate should be closed as it is right now. See that? And what I think I'll do, assuming that that's working like it should and I can't create the problem again, I'll just teach the customer, look, if it doesn't start, pull off the cover, pull off the air filter, and see if that plate is closed. If it's not closed, just take a screwdriver or something like that and free it up so that it closes for you. You know what else I'm going to do? Replace the carburetor, but it's the same cheap plastic parts on the replacement carburetor as on this one. There's nothing really wrong. It was just unfortunately stuck. Let's put it back together and then we'll run it. Alright, let's go ahead and see if now it wants to start. Now that we've freed up the choke and it's closed as it should be. And hopefully that's all we need to do. Well, even with the choke plate closed as it should be, it's still not starting. More try. Let's delve a little deeper. Our next question is it getting fuel? I am going to try a test with some starting fluid. We'll let that be our fuel. I'm going to force open the choke plate and just shoot some of that straight into the throat of the carburetor. Now let's see if it will start and run even briefly on the fuel that is our starting fluid. Alright, it did start on the fuel of starting fluid, but it did not stay running. So this brings us to issue number 2 for us to resolve. It's just not getting fuel through the main jet in the carburetor. I will show you how we can resolve that pretty easily as well. Okay, so remove the air cleaner assembly again, and we got to take down this carburetor to get to the main jet. It's not hard to do this. We have to disconnect the fuel line here, and when I'm going to just clamp that fuel line, so otherwise our fuel would run out of the tank all over the place. I need to do that, and I'll probably spill a little bit, so I got a rag here, and then we just kind of slide it out this way. That's all we have to do, and then disconnect the linkages here on the top, the throttle linkage back there, the choke linkage, and that's it. So let me get the clamp. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Well, with the pliers, I'm going to squeeze the tabs on the clamp and slide it all the way back. And I just like to twist the... I've got these vice grips that'll clamp the hose and try to put that clamp on right after I get it off. So I can pull this out a little bit, and I'm going to disconnect that at the top. Don't think I can disconnect the throttle linkage till I remove the fuel line, so let me try that. Clamp it off, and then I'm going to use a pair of pliers to kind of pry it out of the way. It's coming. Here we go. So now, turn the carburetor to the side, I can disconnect the throttle linkage. So there's our carburetor, it's off. We'll take it over to the workbench. We got to open it up to clean or replace the jet inside through the bottom. All right, up here on the workbench, I'm going to guess that this mower has not run since last season. And this is what I see a lot. It's sat all through the off season with the gasoline in the carburetor gumming up the main jet. And I see this a lot. And you can either clean out that main jet or just replace it. The main jet looks like this. You'll see when we open it up. And I bought a half a dozen or dozen of these because yes, it can be cleaned out, but it's easy. It's so easy just to replace it as well. And that's really the easiest thing to do. Though cleaning it is also an option. So I got a bunch of them here, a couple of new ones. Looks like I saved a couple of old ones. This one's kind of discolored. But fuel sitting in the carburetor turns to varnish and gel and gums up the tiny passages through which the fuel has to flow. So let's go ahead and open this up. I got a rag here because there's fuel sitting in the carburetor bowl and it'll spill out. So be prepared for that. This is a 9/32 screw again. And there's two that you have to take out. Now, pay attention to this because it's not symmetrical. It's round, and you could flip it around and put it in. But you've got this guy, this cutout here. He's sticking off to the right. As I'm looking in the back of the carburetor at the throttle plate, that nubby sticks off to the right. I'm just saying to pay attention to how it comes off so that you can get it back on properly. And you'll see why when we open it up. There's that cutout there, that bump out. All right, so I got we got the screws out, right? And it's still going to be pretty tight to take it up, split the bottom from the top. So sometimes I like to find a place where I can kind of pry it, maybe with a screwdriver. Here we go. Maybe over here the same thing. Here we go. So there is fuel in there. You see that? So you want to dump that out somewhere. And if you dump it out into a plastic container or something, or a glass container, you can see if there's any crud in there. I do kind of see it. It's hard to see because it's black plastic. But if you pour it into something white or clear, you have a better look at it. But it doesn't really matter. I'm going to clean this out. We're going to replace that jet and everything's going to be clean and beautiful again. Now hang on. Alright, so I've cleaned out the bowl. And what I was talking about in this depression, this part of the jet sits down inside that depression in there. That's where it picks up the fuel. I just sneezed on video. Right, so that's why you got to pay attention to the orientation, because this is our pickup tube. We're going to pull this right out of there, but it has to sit down in that cavity. That's why it matters, the orientation. All right, so let's pull this out. I grab it with a pair of pliers and kind of work it and pull gently, and it comes out. Now you can clean this out if you want, but why? Why do that when it's easy enough to just replace it? So I'm going to put this one in the exact same orientation. Ooh, there's one piece in there that didn't come out with it. I better get some needle nose. So we got to pull him out as well. There we go. He was sitting on top of there like that. Alright, so now we can slide this guy, the new one, in. These are very inexpensive on Amazon. I'll leave you a link in the description. Alright, that's it. It's in. It's done. We can put it back together. Run this baby. Okay? This guy sits down in that cavity there, so it's got to go like that. It's tight going in, but we got it. And then the two screws. Tighten them down, but don't overdo it because we're just screwing into plastic. That will squeeze it the rest of the way closed for you. Alright, now I'll wipe off the outside and we'll go reinstall this on the mower. Okay, I'm going to install the carburetor in the exact reverse of how we took it off. So the last thing we did was a throttle linkage, and then we did the fuel line. Right, and then probably get rid of that. Then the third thing was the choke linkage. Okay, that's that, and then we can slide it back onto the intake tube right there, just like that. That's it, except for our cover, right? This fuel line's good, and just make sure everything's moving like it's supposed to. Linkages, springs, choke. Alright, great. So now we can put it all back together and we'll be ready to fire it up. Alright, we're here by the open door. It's raining outside, so we won't go outside, but we'll stay here. It should be enough to fire it up. We got a new jet inside that carburetor, and see what happens. started up on the first pull. It seems to be running a little fast. I think there's an adjustment for that, and I'm going to look into that next because it's going a little bit too heavy, I think. All right, so the engine was running too fast. You could probably hear that. I don't know if you could or not, but there's a simple adjustment. And to show it to you, it's sort of hidden behind the gas tank. So I had to take the engine cover off. It's just 1, 2, 3 bolts. Had to lift the gas tank out of the way, and now we have access to this governor arm, the linkage, and this spring. And hopefully you can see down here, right here, is a metal arm that spring is attached to, and you can bend it gently in one direction or the other. And it's bent in such a way now that it's putting too much tension on this spring. And I think that's why it was running so fast. So I'm just going to take a pair of pliers and bend it the other way and take a little bit of the tension off that spring. Just like that, just a little bit. And then we'll run it again, and I think it's going to sound a little better than it did before. It's just a simple governor adjustment. You can actually access it under the gas tank, but trying to show you that on video would have been impossible. If I need to adjust it again, I'm not going to take this all off again. That won't be necessary. But because I wanted to show it to you, I took off the cover here and moved the gas tank out of the way. But it all goes back. It all goes back very simply. 1, 2, 3 bolts. So we'll put that on, then we'll fire it up again, and hopefully you couldn't see what I was doing. 1, 2, 3 bolts, put that back on, and hopefully we'll fire it up again, and hopefully it'll sound a little better than it did. And if necessary, I'll reach under here with the pair of needle nose pliers, and I can access that little bendable metal bracket. All right, let's run it again and see how it sounds now. Much better. We're back in business now, enjoying a 1-pull start. That's how it's supposed to be. All right, my friends, it's the next day. It does appear that the choke plate has closed properly as it's supposed to when the engine's cold. And we're going to start this up again and make sure it is going to cooperate, because the guy who owns it wants it back. He's got lawn to mow, so let's see if it'll fire up. It absolutely will. We'll give him the green light to come pick this thing up. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I'm still in my church clothes. But the guy is calling me and wants to come get his mower. So I've worked on these Briggs & Stratton plastic engines, as I like to call them, many times, but I can't feel like I've ever had the feeling like I do this time of how cheaply made these things are. It's really disappointing. They didn't used to make stuff like this. Well, when you consider that this guy, it's only 2 years old and he's already got it in the shop, he probably spent $400 to $500 on this mower, and it's almost disposable. So much of it's plastic and cheap breakable parts, stripped out screws. The metal that's on it is thin, and I just don't recall feeling as disappointed in an engine like I do in this one. You know, this whole thing here about no oil change needed. Why not? Because they don't expect it to last long enough that you'll actually need to change the oil. It didn't used to be that way. It's almost made to be disposable, you know? Use it for a couple of years. You don't need to change the oil. It's not going to last that long anyway. It's just kind of disappointing. Bring me an engine from the 70s or the 80s. It might need some repair or maintenance, but we'll get it back up and running. You think this is going to be running in 40 years? It's not. Just kind of disappointing. But that's the reality of the small engine field in the modern day. It's just the way it is. Anyway, don't mean to end on a sour note, but I just keep feeling that way about some of the junk that we have to work on, and it still costs several $100s, so it's disappointing. Well, hopefully we learned something, you learned something, you can fix this mower yourself. It's a couple of simple problems that we addressed. We sorted them all out, and now we're ready to run and to mow. So good luck with you, with yours, fixing it yourself. Remember, as I always like to say, it's only you can put the do into do it yourself. I will see you on the next video. Bye.